Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're back indoors because the weather has turned fairly wet and wild outside again, and I'm going to be cooking with some honey today, and I thought I'd just post a video showing the recipe. The recipe you can find a link to in either the description below or our newsletter, and if you'd like to catch up with all of the latest news that we're posting, then please do pop over to our website and sign up for the newsletter. So this recipe is called a Stout and Honey Tart. It's a dessert. I have a very sweet tooth and I enjoy making cakes and desserts, and so I thought I'd give this one a try. It's one that I haven't tried before. It's by a chef called Richard Corrigan, and he's an Irish chef and produced this recipe to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and I just happened to find it as I was searching for recipes that incorporate honey, and I thought I'd give it a go. So let's take a look at the ingredients. I'll post a full list of the ingredients in the video. So the ingredients that we need fall into two separate categories. First of all, we need some ingredients for the pastry. So we've got 250 grams of plain flour. We have 125 grams of butter that's been cut into cubes. We have 50 grams of caster sugar, and then 3 eggs. And then for the filling, we have 80 mils of stout, and then we've got Bramley apple, and that's about 150 grams of Bramley apples that have been peeled and then grated. We've got 90 grams of honey, and that's my own honey, and 90 grams of golden syrup. We've got 50 grams of porridge oats, so those are rolled porridge oats. 90 grams of breadcrumbs. Now the breadcrumbs are supposed to be stale breadcrumbs, but I didn't have stale, so I've popped these into the oven just to dry them off a little bit, and I suspect they need to be dry in order to soak up all of the liquid. So make sure that you either have stale breadcrumbs or that you just dry them. And then we have the zest of half an orange and the zest and juice of half a lemon. And I added the lemon juice to the apples to make sure that they didn't brown too much. And then a pinch of salt. And last but not least, we've got 2 eggs that will also go into the filling to combine all of the ingredients together. And those are the ingredients that we need for our recipe. So the first thing we need to do is to make up the pastry. So we'll just take the pastry ingredients across to the processor, and we're just going to give them a quick blitz to make up the pastry. So the first task is to make the pastry, and so we need to just pulse together the flour, the sugar, a pinch of salt, and the butter. And now that we've pulsed together those ingredients, we're just going to add the eggs and just pulse it enough to bring the mixture together. Okay, and that's all we need to do. We don't need to pulse it any more than that, otherwise it's going to make the dough really heavy. And then this is going to refrigerate for about half an hour. So just to recap, we've used the flour, the sugar, the salt, the butter and the eggs to make up the pastry. Now just bear in mind, check the recipe, you don't use all 3 of the eggs in the pastry. 2 of the eggs go into the pastry, and 1 of those eggs is retained to then brush the pastry once it's been baked. So just make sure that you only use 2 of the eggs in the pastry and not all 3. So while the pastry's chilling, we're going to make up the mixture to go into the pastry case once it's been cooked. So let's have a look at the process that's involved in preparing that mixture. So we're going to add the stout to the pan, and then the apple into that mixture as well. And we're going to bring this to the boil and reduce the liquid content by about half. So we've now simmered the apple and stout together and reduced the liquid content by about half. So while the apple and stout is now cooling a little, we're going to make the pastry case and blind bake that in the oven. So this is our 25cm loose bottom tin that we're going to make the pastry case in. So that's the kind of size that we want it, plus about 5cm all round, just to be able to lay it over the edge of the pastry tin. So let's roll out the pastry now. And the next task is to blind bake it, and we're going to use these ceramic beads. Spread those around. We can now pop this in the oven and cook it until it's baked. So now that the pastry case is cooking, we can complete the mixture by adding all of the other ingredients to the apple and stout that we previously simmered. So we'll add the honey and golden syrup first. It's important that you allow the mixture to cool so that when you add the eggs, it doesn't curdle the eggs and start cooking the eggs off. So by allowing it to cool, it means that the eggs are going to be okay. So that's the orange and lemon zest. Then we'll add the rolled oats, the breadcrumbs, and we'll just give that a mix before we finally add the egg. And last but not least, the egg. That's 2 eggs that we're adding. And there's our mixture ready to be poured into the pastry case. So the pastry case has now been cooked for the allotted time, and we can remove the blind baked pastry case from the oven. So we just have to remove these baking beans now. And then we have to just paint the inside with the last remaining egg. And this will help seal it and stop the mixture from seeping into the pastry, but also help prevent the pastry case from cracking. And so now we've done that, we can add our mixture into the case that we've cooked, and then we can just smooth this out into the case. And this can now go back into the oven for a further 20 to 25 minutes. So here's our cooked tart. We just take it out of the tin now. So we can just remove the sides from the bottom and then gently put it down onto the cooling wire tray. And then we need to just get it off the base. And just to finish it off, I'm going to brush the top with some honey while it's still warm. So there we are, there's the finished stout and honey tart. It looks a little bit more rustic than the one that's actually on the Great British Chef's website, but I'm sure it's going to taste absolutely fabulous. Please do give it a try, and if you do make the stout and honey tart, then let me know how you get on, and maybe even post a photograph to show us exactly what you've done. I'll put links to the recipe and all of the details of the recipe in the description below, and don't forget you can sign up to our newsletter and get lots more recipes as we go through the winter months. All that's left for me to do now is the washing up and hopefully enjoy some of this stout and honey tart later this afternoon. And for those of you that have watched all the way through and you're now at the end of the video, I have a little confession to make. Because I'm a bit dyslexic, I misread the recipe a little bit and ended up putting 3 eggs into the pastry instead of just 2. So I did actually bulk up the pastry a little bit with some more flour. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine. It's a sweet pastry and I'm sure it's going to taste wonderful. It did give me some extra pastry, so I ended up making a dozen mince pies with it, so it wasn't wasted. And as with a lot of things in beekeeping, they don't always go according to plan. But anyway, do give the recipe a try and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for watching.